Welcome into the Young Terps post-game recap. Terps take down Charlotte 38-20 tonight. Ahmed, rough start for Maryland, but they put it together in the second half and get it done.
Yeah, obviously Charlotte was able to pull away or start with a 14-0 lead 3 minutes into the game. Was able to, Maryland's offense obviously was struggled in their third series of the game and drew some boos from the crowds, but obviously were able to find their footing, scored 38 unanswered to eventually take a 38-20 lead or 14 lead before a late Charlotte touchdown ended at 38-20.
Yeah, let's talk about the slow start. Obviously, Terps blow an assignment on defense. That happens. They give up their first touchdown. I guess that would have been, quarter 12 of their no touchdown streak where it's finally broken by Charlotte. And then just a quick mental mistake by Leah, but you're down 14-0.
Yeah, obviously Maryland came into the game 3 consecutive games without allowing a touchdown. And we knew that the Charlotte rushing attack was going to be a problem for Maryland's defense. Obviously, quarterback Jelon Jones, Jarrell Robinson, Joaquin Bangda, they had three, four guys that they could turn to. Charlotte was able to amass 88 yards of offense in those first 2 drives. But it was obviously Charlotte was able to open up 4 straight run plays, and then it was the first pass play from Charlotte from Jelon Jones, 48-yard touchdown. Took advantage of miscommunication in Maryland secondary. So definitely, some concerns there. But like you said, just were able to put it together for a complete rest of the 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think that a game like this, everyone's going to want to talk about when you're down 14-0. Everybody's going to want to hit on those points, but ultimately I think Locks probably gave his best press conference, I think, of his Maryland career, as in talking about how his guys didn't live up to the standard, what they need to correct, how they need to come out and, just be better as a team. It wasn't good enough just to win this game, but they really do need to pick up the pace, get going. I think a 38-6 win over Towson and a 38-20 win over Charlotte. And I'm not sure what your thoughts on it, but mine, like a lot of Terp Nation, is it's just not good enough yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. I think Loxie talked a lot last week about you take those big jumps from week 1 into week 2, and I think Maryland they kind of left some meat on the bone there. Obviously, offensive line, I thought that was one aspect where kind of saw some struggles early on. The Charlotte front 7 was able to kind of control the line of scrimmage at time, but I thought just kind of over the duration that 60 minutes, that was kind of where they were able to kind of maybe pick up that slack. But like you said, I think Maryland fans had kind of expected some domination, like we've said before. Charlotte, they came in, they were confident, they were loud, and they weren't shy about who knew about it. So I think that they definitely were able to leave that all out in the field. But I think what kind of leaves me confident was the adjustment. Like I said, giving up 88 yards in those first 2 drives, and I believe it was 207 the rest of the way. 6 consecutive punts, forced a pair of turnovers as well. But like you said, I think there's definitely some room for improvement on a short week against Virginia next week.
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings up the question of the strength of this team and what it really is. And for me, I think we said it when we were doing our previews, the defense really is what this Maryland team needs to lean on, at least right now, while they're having trouble blocking. And I ultimately think Aaliyah's just having trouble not quite dialing in the timing of the game, exactly when to throw the ball, what his reads are pre-snap. Maryland defensively, though, just overall, the rotation, the level of guys they've been able to bring into the program, and something that I think stuck out today all over the field was the speed they have in the middle between Bo Braid, Dante Trader, and whoever they have in their inside linebacker rotation. I think they went a little bit too deep into it when they had Kobe Thomas and Greeley and Jeremy Spraggins in there. I don't really think we'll see that rotation too much when the better teams come into town, but definitely a fast and vicious Maryland defense that loves to hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think through the first 2 weeks now, we've seen, I believe it was Jayshon Barham, Caleb Wheatland, Ruben Hippolyte, Fanaje Gote, and like you said, Jeremy Spraggins. Maryland's been able to kind of lean on that deep inside linebacker room. Donnell Brown, this is the 2nd consecutive week that we haven't seen him until the second half. And he was a guy, especially in the outside, off the edge, where he was able to make an impact. Obviously, he was the one who recorded Maryland's first takeaway, an interception, which proved to be the first takeaway of the season, first of 2 on the night. But I think it's the linebacker room, obviously, like I said, just the inside linebacker room, what they're able to do, the talent that they return, the depth and the combos that they're able to turn to. And then, like I said, just Donnell Brown, I think he's been able to show some flashes. Kellen Wyatt, he's been able to be a force on the edge as well, whether it's, hands in the dirt defensive end or at stand-up edge rusher as a jack. So I think there's a lot to like there. I think that the biggest keys, obviously, for Maryland moving forward to close out non-conference play will be that offensive line. You talked about the rotations there. We didn't see as many offensive line rotations this week. A week ago, we saw 13 guys. I believe it was 8 guys today with Amelia Moran, Kyle Long, those guys. Mike Purcell, obviously, he was able to play second half at center with Eric Harris playing in that first half. So, that part's a work in progress as well. But I think that defensively, that linebacker room is what gives me confidence through those first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that one thing that Maryland needs to do is keep it simple like they did in the second half. Really have their running backs look for quick holes and then accelerate through them, bring the aggression, bring the hitting to their opponent. I really feel like when you have an offensive line that's not as strong as it was last year, does not really seem to necessarily be able to knock down the zone blocking concepts that Locks loves, and Josh Gaddis even adds more of. If you look at his offenses at Michigan and Miami, this team just needs to be flat out aggressive and hit their opponent. And you know what? They're going to play some teams that are going to overpower them on that line of scrimmage. But until they really gel, until they find a combo, keep it simple. Run the plays you can run when you're running between the tackles, and then maybe you can start to run some shovel toss stuff to the outside. You have a lot of running backs, have a lot of speed. Yeah. When you need to get it to the outside, you need to run plays that direct the ball to that, and it's not a cutback run offense that we can see right now. Even against Charlotte tonight, and even against Towson last week, they're not dominating at that level. They're not sealing blocks. They're just winning just enough to get those 5-6 yard carries. So that something you got to look at.
Yeah, and I think maybe an underrated storyline just through non-conference play. Obviously, Gottlieb Ayedzi, he was inactive a week ago. He was active today against Charlotte, but did not see the field. Like I said, 7-8 guys were able to play along the offensive line. So, you talked about just being able to gel and get that chemistry down. Whether we see Gottlieb Ayedzi in week 3 against Virginia, that remains to be seen. But whether we see him or not, I think that'll be a big question as they go into conference play. Are they able to kind of gel a little bit more and kind of create that chemistry? So I think we like I said, we've seen strides today, and I think we kind of saw, just the Charlotte's lack of depth over a 60-minute span. I thought that's kind of where Maryland was able to capitalize, and that's why we saw the offensive line start to win the battles in the trenches, and I think that's why we saw Roman Hemby explode for his 5th career 100-yard rushing game, finished with 217 all-purpose yards. Colby McDonald finished with, I believe, 70-plus yards on 8 carries as well. So that's kind of where we're able to see maybe some of those strides as well. And I thought also the passing attack, I think early in the games kind of struggled, especially last week after having 7 drops. They struggled with drops as well. Caden Prather had a ball go through his hand on 3rd down on the 2nd drive of the game. But you saw the consistency through the 2nd quarter when Deshaun Jones had that 17-yard catch. The offense was kind of able to gradually build on there. And, you want to see the efficiency a little bit more in the red zone. I believe it was 3 field goals on 4 attempts, 3 field goals and 1 touchdown on 4 attempts in the red zone. Maybe 5 attempts, excuse me. But I think that's kind of a big thing. But I think you kind of start to see some strides there with Talia finding his groove with that wide receiver room.
Yeah, 2 more takes on the game, and as instant as a reaction as I can give after listening to Loxley and having the stats in my hand for, 30 minutes now. Here's something that I think every Maryland fans wanted to see. Roman Hemby, 19 carries on the game. Colby McDonald, 8. Antoine Littleton, 4. But still, your bell cow guy, 19 carries. Targets, wide receiver-wise, Prather, 7. Deitch 6, Hemby 5, Felton gets 5, and Jones gets 4. Guys that are getting towards the 6, 7, 10 targets, something that we've all called for, all have been looking for, and something that when the game was somewhat close today, those guys were on the field. You didn't see the rotation. You didn't see 3 groups of guys. I don't think we saw Shalik Knotts. I don't think we saw Tyrese Chambers out with an injury today. Probably could have gone. I think that's all of our takes. I saw him pregame. He was definitely moving around, but he doesn't go today. And the cut down rotation, the guys when it really mattered, it was how many carries can I get Roman Hemby.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Obviously, like you said, just the wide receiver room, kind of being able to lean on some of those guys. We didn't see Leon Houghton. He was another guy. We didn't see a lot more like Octavian Smith, a little bit of Ty Felton, Deshaun Jones, obviously, Caden Prather. Those were kind of the main guys. But I thought it was really good. Obviously, the running back room, they didn't have Nolan Ray after he was able to kind of show some flashes a week ago. But I thought just kind of being able to lean on Colby McDonald and, like you talked about it, Antoine Littleton has kind of been that second running back behind Hemby. But I believe it was at some point in the game, I believe it was the first half, when he had a unsportsmanlike call that took Maryland outside of the red zone, ended up leading to one of 3 field goals on the night. So, and he said, I'm sick of the dumb penalties, and if you're going to have the dumb penalties, then you're going to sit it. And Colby McDonald took advantage, so that's how they're going to go about it. So I think that'll be an interesting thing. And then last point for me, I thought was really interesting. I was interested to see how Maryland would respond. What I expected to be a heated game, obviously a lot of familiarity. Biff Bogey back in College Park, Mike Miller back in College Park, several St. Francis alums, several 6 former Terps that were back in College Park for the first time. And it'd be interesting to see, when things got testy, how Maryland adjusted. And like I said, Antoine Littleton, he had the unsportsmanlike that Maryland disciplined him for. But other than that, I would say Maryland had a clean game, and through the first 2 weeks now, you've seen Maryland really cut down on those unforced errors.
And you know what? One thing that I will say there is credit to both teams, but mainly credit to Charlotte, because that is a team that hasn't been together for long, that is, on the newer side of that does have the guys that wanted to go somewhere else to play. And Biff kept his guys kind of in shape. A couple times when I was down on the field, I noticed that they were getting a little chippy, but him and his staff were the first ones to take those guys out of the game to, kind of de-escalate the situation, if you will, and keep the game clean and really play when they had a shot.
I have nothing nice to say about this, so I'm gonna leave that off to you.
I don't usually either, but I thought that they did handle that well. 32,804 the attendance number on the game, so quite a bit of a step down. NBC crew's packing up next to us, so I guess that's it. Ahmed, anything else to add?
We'll see about the short week against Virginia. I'll be back again Tuesday night to record and preview the regional rivalry, so stay tuned.
Yeah, make sure to like this podcast if you like it. Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the game. And Terps got UVA coming in here next Friday. Wayne, thanks for holding the camera for us tonight.